wasted with these models and all that crap. It was a waste. But even though it's in a later part of her career, I don't know how much she's got left in the tank. I'm just glad Natalya is getting some kind of rub in regards to getting a chance. So, yeah, it's really good for Natalya. I'm very happy for her. I'm happy that we get something a little bit different in the way of a women's title match. So, I'll be looking forward to that match at SummerSlam. Naomi is easily the most athletic, one of the most athletic wrestlers on the roster, but she's definitely the most athletic woman on the roster, in my opinion. But yeah, she will, Natalya's arguably still one of the best wrestlers on the roster, combined with the most athletic woman on the roster. It's going to be very interesting to see. It's going to be very interesting to see where they go from here with this. I'm looking forward to the feud going forward, and truthfully, I'll make my predictions as soon as SummerSlam comes closer. But in my heart, I really hope Natalya wins at SummerSlam. That would be a huge validation for her and her career, not only winning the women's title, but doing it at such a big event. And I think that'd be nice. But again, we'll see. We'll see how the feud progresses over the next few weeks. The other match of the night, but with a really botched ending, and it was a questionable ending, obviously. Kevin Owens defeats AJ Styles to become the new United States champion. Okay. That's great. The match itself was fantastic. Again, New Day Usos, to me, was match of the night. However, this was a close second, and it would have probably been match of the night if that ending didn't happen the way it happened. Somebody must have botched somewhere, because, again, spoiler alert for SmackDown this week, AJ Styles regains the title in an amazing triple threat main event with Jericho, Owens, and Styles. That tells me one of two things. One, they really didn't want to make Owens look that bad, not look as weak. Or B, it was a real botch at the pay-per-view, and then they kind of had to make up for it somehow. But Jericho, supposedly from what you read online, came from the one-time deal. Came in, wrestled, helped put him over. And now we're at where we're at. So, good match overall. Crappy ending. And that's where it kind of made me feel like, wait, why? Who's booking this shit? But I digress. Cena Rusev flag match. Do I really need to get into it? Good, solid match. And what's the and the worst part about this match? Rusev has shown time in and time out that he can work with the top talents of the WWE. Just they don't do anything with him. They don't do anything with him, and it's sad. But what are you gonna do? Sami Zayn defeats Mike Kanellis. Whatever. Kind of like that Kurt Hawkins and who was his opponent? Well, whoever it was at the last Raw pay-per-view, where they had an impromptu match while they're trying to take Braun Strowman away on the ambulance. So, yeah, again, really not a whole hell of a lot to talk about there. Why, if they want to hype up Mike Kanellis so much that after having him lose on his debut pay-per-view match, and what was even sillier, and again, the head writers of SmackDown Live really need to be fired. Why would you have Mike Kanellis, who's so hyped up, have his debut match on SmackDown Live on free TV? Why wouldn't people want to just pay to watch his first WWE match? But again, I digress. So Sami Zayn gets a win. I don't know where we go from here, but I wasn't a fan. Then the biggest bullshit of the night, the Punjabi Prince match between WWE Champion Jinder Mahal as he defeats Randy Orton with the assistance, as Tarek would like to say, the Great Cheese, meaning the Great Khali. Like, wait, really? Really? You have to resort to bringing the Great Khali back, even if it's a one-time, to help? Come on. Like, there's certain times where it's like, okay, it's okay for the heel to be the true heel and having people win, by any means necessary, but I just don't get it. It might be because I'm just not, I'm becoming less and less of a fan of Jinder Mahal as champion. I'm just not a fan anymore. I mean, I tried to give it a chance. His promos have been doing alright. But, oh my god, like, I can't take him seriously as champion. It's not because of his tactics of how he wins, it's just, I can't do it anymore. He's not a good wrestler. I'm glad that they gave somebody else an opportunity, but now it's time to cut the cord. And Orton's got to go too. He is so, and it's sad because you looked at Randy Orton as like the best wrestler on the roster, one of the best, having top-notch matches against the likes of the Undertaker at WrestleMania, and then Kurt Angle and Mysterio a year later, and he's had many great moments, but just he's at that point in his career that I don't know if he's mailed it in or. Just something about his attitude is just like, I don't want to be here anymore. And no offense to Randy Orton, but not a lot of us want him there either. And I don't. He's given us a lot of great memories. Again, Cactus Jack in the hardcore match at Backlash where he gets slammed onto the thumbtacks, from an RKO reverse. Stuff like that. But he's got to go. And Jinder Mahal needs to lose the belt. I'm sorry, but it's time for that to happen. It's time for, again, Land of Opportunity SmackDown, great. You completely depleted that roster to go to Raw. Because Raw was hurting, because SmackDown was doing so freaking good. And now, everybody's suffering. Again, your WWE champion only has one shirt. He's not really anything to push. And from what I've been reading, their idea of targeting like a larger Indian audience because they're doing their Indian expansion, that wasn't doing shit either. Again, to the point where they had to bring probably one of the most popular Indian wrestlers, of all time, Jinder Mahal, the Great Khali. Come on, you need to really reevaluate your shit over there. And I'll get to SmackDown in a little bit. I'm going to take a quick music break here, and then I'll get into SmackDown. But Battleground was probably one of the worst pay-per-views I ever saw. Back to the days of like I really wouldn't watch a pay-per-view from like 2006, 2007, 2008, something like that. Because, was there really anything any good? Not really. I mean, I would hear about it on Raw and SmackDown the next days anyway. So why did I care? But now, how as bad as Battleground was, WWE and more importantly SmackDown Live did bounce back with SmackDown Live this past week. I'll get into that and much more on the other side of this music break. Hang on. All right, now we're back with Open Mic Wrestling Night here on Fill in the Void Podcast Network. Now, this was one of the rare weeks in wrestling where the Raw or SmackDown following a pay-per-view outshined the pay-per-view previously. Now, if you follow anything on Twitter, you know Road Dogg, who supposedly, Road Dogg Jesse James, formerly of the New Age Outlaws, he's supposedly the head writer of SmackDown. Well, I guess since and whenever he took over those duties, and I kind of see it too, just the writing for the show has just been absolutely atrocious. Absolutely awful. And it definitely showed at this past pay-per-view. But SmackDown Live redeemed itself this week in a big way as Chris Jericho makes a surprise return to SmackDown Live, cuts a promo, puts AJ Styles on the list. It was classic Jericho. It was all good. Very happy to have seen him back, even if it was for just one time. So, that was that. Then it sets up the main event for the night. Styles, Owens, Jericho for the U.S. title. I'll get to that in a little bit. Shinsuke Nakamura, he defeats Baron Corbin on this edition of SmackDown. Now, here's the thing. I was going to kind of allude to this before, but I figure I'd get to this point now. Do you remember Shawn Michaels versus John Cena at WrestleMania? That match, it was okay. At best. It was not a good match. And it was the main event of WrestleMania. Michaels had a meltdown in the middle of the match and basically forced Cena to toughen up a little bit because he really wasn't doing a whole hell of a lot. Now, the following Raw, that match went over 30 minutes. And it was one of the better matches that Cena had at that time. And it was definitely a step in the right direction for John Cena at that point. But yeah, John Cena Michaels 2 at the Raw after WrestleMania was one of the best matches of the year that year. So it's not at all impossible to think that the SmackDown match would be better than the pay-per-view.